Oh, yes, we love that. We love to dance. We love to dance, especially on a Friday, dancing our way into the weekend. Sock just messaged me because I can't find the link. I'm sorry, Sock. It may be that I didn't message it to you. I'm going to do it at this very moment. As we welcome Annie R. McEwen. Welcome, Annie. Thank you for joining us today.
Sure.
This is so lovely. I want to, okay, let me get the link. I'm going to send it. I'm so sorry, Sock. You know, this is my 5th live show in 5 days. And, I anticipated probably doing something like this. My apologies. But so let me just get this to Sock really quickly. And then we are going to talk all the things.
Okay.
My apologies. Okay. Okay, here we go, Sock. I'm so sorry. I'm messaging it to you on Instagram, and then you will have it, and then she can join us.
Jump through it.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I just want to thank you so much for joining us this morning, and also for your flexibility, because you've been so wonderful. We've had to do some moving around a little bit here and there, and I'm so grateful that we are finally able to talk to you about your amazing historical romance work and what you've done for the community. So this is going to be wonderful. And I'm looking for Sock to be coming. Now, okay, I have to ask, are those real books or is that a background?
Oh, phooey, you're not supposed to ask that.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
They are not, because in the last breakfast show that, hi, hello.
Oh, yeah, you're
sorry. I'm sorry, I did not know that tiara was part of today's dress, because I have one I could have worn.
But we will wait. We will wait.
I'm not going to dig it out. I forgot. What did you ask me? Oh, whether these are real books. Okay. No, you're not.
Sorry.
I took a look at the replay of the last program that you and I did, and I looked at the room, which is my combination: sewing, writing, no place for anything else room, because I live in a 7-room bungalow, right? And so this room sort of got everything, and it had, I said, interesting, like a witch's lair is interesting. And so I rushed over to the Zon and I bought a backdrop. So I'm sorry, they're not real. But if you go to my living room, which I'm sorry we can't do right at this moment, you would find that I have an entire wall that is as crammed with books as that is.
How fun. I know it's a struggle, right? Trying to find just the right room with the right lighting and the right plugs where you need them, right?
I gave up.
You did.
I gave up too. The thing about a Florida bungalow is that they were built, the 20s bungalows like mine were built before there was air conditioning. So it's not unusual for a relatively small room to have like 5 or 6 windows, big sash windows. And so you can't, I mean, that light is just everywhere. And, you just give up. And so here we are.
I love it. Oh my gosh. But that sounds so fun. You live in a bungalow in Florida that was
100 years old this year.
100 years old. Isn't that neat? And as a person who enjoys history and historical romance, do you ever walk around and wonder what stories took place in your bungalow?
I do, but because I spend up to half the year in the UK, where this would be considered a new building. This would be new construction. Most of my time I'm there is spent in a tiny Welsh town. Now this is a town of like 3,000 people that has 14 grade 1 listed buildings just on the main street. And they go back, to like the 1400s. So they care about my 1925 bungalow.
Like this new state-of-the-art bungalow.
They are old.
Okay, well, I was going to ask questions that I had prepared, but I just think I have to ask now. What is life like? Because I don't think many of us do this, where we go from Florida to, you said,
UK.
Oh, the UK.
My publisher is in London, in Cambridge, outside of London, Bloodhound Books. And I have other publishers, but they're my principal publishers. So, but that's not why I started going there. I actually was doing World War II reenactment, and somebody told me about a 1940s event in a little town in Wales. And I had planned to go to the UK anyway to do some World War II stuff because it's very big over there, much bigger than it is here in the States. And so I said, well, all right. And I changed my itinerary and I went to this town and I stepped out of the train at the beautiful, tiny Victorian train station. And I was in love. I mean, it hit me as hard as any heroine in any romance novel. And I just went all, lolly doodle. And in love with that town ever since. And I made friends there. And so really, so much of my life is there, not here.
It was location insta-love.
Yes. They have an expression in Welsh called hiraeth, which means to feel a longing for a place you've never been. And I had that longing for many, many years. And I've traveled a great deal. I've lived abroad for years and years of my adult life. But I still, every place that I went, no matter how magical it was, I still had that feeling that I was longing for some place I hadn't yet seen. And then I stepped out of that train in this little town in Wales and I went, this is it.
Oh my gosh, I love
This
that.
is it. And I started writing books in part based on my experiences there in these old buildings and surrounded by evidence of the past, a living evidence, not something you read in a book, something that's there right in front of you. I can't describe it any better than that.
Oh my heavens. Oh, I love it. I just love it. Oh my gosh, how fun. I've been so swept away already. I've forgotten to say hello to all of our lovely friends that have joined us in the chat. I don't want to forget to do that. Good morning, Terry and Kristen and Paige. Oh my gosh, we are ready for the weekend, I bet. Good morning, Cassandra. And there's Sock, who couldn't find the link. Sorry, Sock.
I think I had it. I just couldn't dig through my stuff quickly enough to find it.
Oh, you're very kind.
So I don't think you dropped the ball. I am the ball dropper in this situation.
You're very kind. You could convince me of anything at this morning. I tell you what. And then
send books and tiaras.
Yes. We love the books and the tiaras. Hello. Oh, there you are. Yes. And Wyoming and Silly are here.
Barkity.
I love it so much. Nicole, hello. Nicole says, I lived in Florida for over 30 years. I would have left for Europe. Easy. Instead, I ended up in the Midwest. Unless you live in an incredible gated community for surgeons and lawyers, Florida is a nice place to visit.
Yeah, I'm a native and I can't wait to get out.
As the summer months are approaching.
I know. Every time I leave Florida, I go,
True. My parents lived there briefly and I visited one summer and the atmosphere, it felt like the water was just in the air. Like I was breathing water.
It is.
I couldn't do it. My uncle is one of those people that lives in those fancy gated communities Nicole's talking about. And Pat Sajak lived a few doors down. I was like, well, this is exactly what Nicole is talking about.
Door number 2. Yeah.
That's right. Vanna would go, yes, from door to door. Yes. I couldn't believe that. I was like, well, that's unusual. Kristen says, I felt that in Edinburgh when my friends and I went. Oh, she felt that way. I knew where places were and I had never been there before. Kristen, stop. Yeah. Are you trying to say that you are reincarnated and that at one point you lived there? That is a story.
I think it's more likely that a lot of romances are set in Scotland.
Do you know, when we were talking to Gabrielle, who I've mispronounced her name, Gabrielle, last night, talking about historical romance, she mentioned the time travels that are set in Scotland. And when I was doing research for books that I could recommend, virtually all of them were Scotland. I couldn't believe it.
It's the Outland effect.
I think that's what it is. But I did wonder. I was like, oh. Here's a gal from Ireland, actually. Good afternoon, Dee. I hope you're doing well and enjoying the beginning of your weekend. And hello, Ajatu. Good afternoon to you as well. And I believe, Ajatu, you're in the UK, correct? Tell me if I'm wrong. Because Annie here spends half of her year, I believe, correct? Half of your year, roughly?
As much as half of my year. Sometimes only a couple of months, sometimes the full 6 that I can spend on my passport. Yeah.
Oh, boy. And she
That's
spends
great.
it in the UK, too. Good afternoon. Hello, Angel Wolf. And Barkity Bark back at Sock. This is an inside thing. Yes. Terry says, when I visited the village in France where my paternal family is from, I cried like a baby because it felt like home, even if I never went there before. Wow. I love it. So Ajatu is in the UK. There you go. I love it. Oh my gosh, isn't that lovely? Okie dokie. Well, I can't wait another moment to start talking about your work. This is going to be wonderful. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's start with what made you want to be an author? I feel like I'm already getting glimpses based on what you've said, but I want to know more.
Yeah, well, everybody starts with, oh, I've been writing since I was a child, which in my case is true, and in many writers' cases is true. But that's not why I became an author. Basically, I'd done everything else I had any talent for. So writing was the thing that just kept getting, I had serial careers, and writing was the one that kept being pushed to the back of the queue, because so much of what I did was things that really needed to be done when I was young. And so I had to wait until I got all through those. I mean, I for many years wanted to be a professional ballerina. I was a professional dancer for many years, but not a ballerina. Ballet was my first love, but I'm way too short. No company in America, anyway, would have taken a 5-foot-tall ballerina. And nobody offered me a faculty post at Oxford. So there was nothing left. I had to write.
If those two careers don't pan out, I mean, what else have you got, right? Oh my goodness. That's really neat. I love that. I love that. So, okay, take us through your journey to publishing your first book.
Oh God, that is so tedious. Can we skip that?
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, how about this? Let's talk about your books then. I've got everything I could find. We don't have to talk about any particular ones. Clearly, you're comfortable telling me which things you want to talk about and which you don't. Where would you like to start? Because I want everybody to get a sense of
I
what
really
you
want
write.
to talk about the Corset Girls.
Yes, ma'am. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's book 1 in a series, or that particular volume, Unlaced, is book 1 in the series. Book 2, Unbound, is coming out August 6th. And then the others will come out in approximately 6-month intervals. And all of them are published by my UK publisher, Bloodhound Books, for whom I have just unbounded admiration. That is a first-class outfit. Just love them. And I love all of the team members there, but I'm, of course, particularly close to Claire Law, my editor, and I want to give her a shout out in part because she, in her last email to me as we were finishing the editing of book 2 in the series, she said something that I copied and pasted to keep for perpetuity, because I'm flattered that she was talking about my work, but what she said encapsulates my reason for writing romance and for writing this series the way I wrote it. And I will quote her directly. She said, "The pulpiest genre is elevated by strong, clear writing, authentic characters, and good quality world building with accurate historical detailing." I mean, that should be in a textbook somewhere, because that is what I tried to do with romance writing generally, and especially with this series. I have not read a lot of romance prior to writing it seriously. And what I had read kind of dated to the Barbara Cartland era, which, I'm not going to throw any shade on Barbara Cartland. Anybody that write over 100 books without leaving their bed,
Right.
they're okay by me. But
Life novels.
she was amazingly prolific and wrote some lovely stuff. But I looked back at that and I thought, well, I could probably write that. But I wanted to take the genre, which for decades was considered a pulp genre. And I don't dislike that label. Some people think it denigrates literature, and I don't. I read pulps for years. I mean, that's how I got introduced really to fantasy and science fiction, was through the very prolific pulp magazine industry in the US, which published a lot of later famous fantasy and sci-fi writers, people like Ursula K. Le Guin, Isaac Asimov, the Robert Silverberg, the greats, and they were published in pulps long before their novels came out.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that genre is unfairly denigrated, but I agree that any genre, but especially romance, can be elevated if people will work at it, if they will adopt high standards and do that world building, and especially in historical romance, achieve that granular kind of atmosphere. Hilary Mantel, I think, with Wolf Hall, is an example of someone who did that. Joanna Byrne, who's my all-time role model and heroine in the writing of historical romantic suspense, which is what I write. Excellent world building. Wow. So that's what I set out to do with the Corset Girl.
Oh my gosh, that's
may
amazing.
may I insert a comment?
Please.
One of the many things I liked about the Corset Girls is the way that you incorporated those historical details into the narrative organically. It wasn't like, as you know, the corset is an important foundational wear. It was incorporated very gracefully, and I really appreciated that.
Thank you. My goal with historical fiction generally is to create a world, like I say, that's granular, that readers can pretty quickly adopt as reality, to the extent that when they finish reading a chapter or even a passage, they sort of have that little disconnect, like, oh, wait, now I'm not in 1892. Now I'm in 2025. There should be that little sense of falling off a cliff. It's the writer's job to make that cliff so real that they can feel the ground under their feet. They can see the sea beyond the edge.
Well, I would say that happens to me a fair amount, and that happened to me reading The Corset Girls, and it kind of helps. I live in a house that was built before the time of The Corset Girls, and what happened to me was I finished a passage, and then I went downstairs to get some lunch, and I'm heating up the vegetables in the microwave, and I'm like, what is this demon machine that I am using here? What?
I love that. Yeah. Talk about immersive. I love that. This is fascinating. So tell us a little bit more about
and I was reading it on my laptop. So it was even weirder that I got that absorbed in the 19th century. I mean, on the laptop. Sorry, I just thought that was funny.
I love it. I love it. So what would you say is this one about?
The premise of the Corset Girls is straightforward, but you can tell just from the premise what you're going to get into. 4 young women. Well, I will first of all say that I am as delighted by what I call ballroom romances, you know, where it's the season and you have all sorts of drama and oh, my dress isn't good enough, and you know, this, all the things that make up beautiful and melodramatic Regency, and you know, all those things in romance, the bed hopping dukes and earls, and you know, I mean, I get sucked into that like everybody else, right?
Oh yes,
but I wanted to write a series about the working class. I think on my last program we talked about my academic background, and I am a career historian. My degrees are in cultural history, so I wanted to write about the middle classes and working classes, because by the Victorian era there was a very robust middle class, and there was also an enormous working class, and there were no ballrooms. If there were dukes and earls, they appeared in a sort of a unpleasant context because the class struggle was very evident. And so I picked 4, and I also lectured, I lectured for many years on the history of the steel bone corset.
Get out.
One of my little specializations, people would hire me, you know, at various symposia to lecture, and I've written some academic papers on it, on the history of the corset and how it evolved, and what it meant, what the changing profile that it produced in fashion meant to women's images of themselves and the general society's image of them. It was an instrument of confinement, but it was also it was confinement camouflaged as liberation, if you can imagine that. So I took 4 working class corset girls. That's what they were called, by the way. I'm not denigrating them. They were called, in French, the expression is corsetière, a corset maker. In English, they were simply called corset girls, in the same way that women who produce matches were called match girls. Okay. So these 4 women all came from troubled backgrounds, and they end up working in the same corset salon. And it's a very upmarket salon in Mayfair.
Oh.
The work is being done by 4 young women who are definitely not upmarket. You know, they're in the back room, you know, hand sewing these things, because while mass production of corsets had been around for a couple of decades at least, women of quality and women who had money had their undergarments made by hand. You know, you didn't buy off the rack any more than wealthy women do today, you know, if you can buy designer stuff. So this is a designer corset shop. And these 4 women, one by one, become entangled with 4 men who also come from the working or lower classes. And each of them has a shocking history. 3 of them were members of the most famous and violent London gang. And one of them is a deserter from the Royal Navy who becomes basically a pirate.
What?
And so
oh wow, is that Palm?
That's Pawn, yes. Ooh, we're getting it away.
Nice.
Pawn is book 3, Pawn, and you can guess who Pawn's love interest is.
Yep. Yeah. Well, she's already into him, and
yes,
she's like, I love him. I love his picture. Maybe I will meet him one day.
Oh.
She falls in love with a cabinet photograph, which is what
exactly. Yes.
19th century portrait photographs that we've all seen examples of. And she basically falls in love with that, and then they become correspondents. They start writing.
Oh.
And so that's book 3. Book 2
Yes.
As book 2, which will be out in August. Okay, I'm going to give you a sneak preview
We
now.
love a sneak preview.
Nobody else knows this, so you're privileged. You will only hear this on
I won't tell a soul.
book 2 is Dog.
I was, yeah.
Dog was
I thought it might be the inspector. I'm blanking on names.
Ewan.
Yeah.
All of the characters enter all of the books because
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I could see what the setup was going to be. And incidentally, I was looking at it, and when I read it, I thought, oh, this seems like it's the start of a series, but it's not marked as book 1 on Goodreads or Amazon. So I was like, well, I hope that's just because book 2 hasn't come out yet and not because it's not a series, because to me, it was like, this is clearly going to be at least 4 books.
Yeah, I think it says it on the back cover, but I don't know why it doesn't appear there. It should. But
well, maybe I missed something. That's entirely possible.
There's so much verbiage, and I don't believe most buyers read all the verbiage. I mean, I don't. Well, it depends. If I'm really interested in a book, I will read every word on that page, and I'll also go to the author page, which I encourage people to do. But honestly, I think most buyers probably don't do that. They just go, oh, I like the cover.
Well, in my case, it was like, oh, I'm going to have a chance to talk to the author, and so I want to read.
Yeah.
So book 2 is Dag, who was the assassin of the gang. So he has a really violent history, and he's an expert he's French. His name is Etienne Sansecourt. And he's in book 2, he's retired. I mean, all the gang members, the gang is folded by the time the first book started. It's actually folded several years before, but all the members are trying to, what we would now call, reintegrate into legitimate society. It's sort of like the Peaky Blinders suddenly have to go straight. It's like, well, how is that going to work?
I will say something is that somebody who's participating in this readathon, a lot of us are doing, was wondering if there were any historicals that were mafia romance. And I was like, well, if you set aside the Vikings and the pirates, kind of inherently organized crime. And I said, well, I just read The Corset Girls Unlaced. And I said, it's not a mafia romance. However, it is an historical romance, and the characters are kind of organized crime adjacent. Like they were in organized crime and now they're getting out of that. And I said, and let's just say that the male main character of this book has a certain skill set which will come in handy as the book unfolds. So I put that out there so that people might be interested, because again, it's not mafia romance as we understand that subgenre, but it is about organized crime to a degree.
Certainly close.
Exactly the same extent that in Peaky Blinders, Peaky Blinders isn't a crime romance series. It's not about crime. It's about the lives of people who are criminals. And in the case of the Corset Girls, the male main characters, 3 of them were criminals. They're retired. But and there are some historical parallels in Peaky Blinders. You hear Peaky Blinders is based on Birmingham, England, which had a really violent crime scene, and you have that the genesis of that crime empire, which was largely dominated by a Sicilian gang, appears in The Corset Girls Unlaced as a long-standing rivalry between this young and up-and-coming Sicilian gang in Birmingham that wants to expand into London, but there's an existing dominant gang, which is the one my 3 guys are in, the Jacks, and so of course there are terrible collisions and long-standing rivalries and even vendetta. And so that, yeah, if people like that sort of intrigue, it's pivotal.
Yeah.
Perfect
I mean,
for fans of Peaky Blinders.
Yes, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
it really does sound like mafia. Sicilian gang.
Well,
I mean,
people use mafia very generically
yes.
because I've seen things, modern day mafia romances, and it's like, well, it's not really mafia, it's Bratva, they're Russian, not Italian, or it's the Yakuza, they're Japanese, not Italian, but they mean organized crime.
I see.
And so
Yeah.
I figured the Jacks, they were organized criminals.
they had an organized
I mean,
thing. Yeah.
It is funny when you say it like that, though. I just love organized crime romance. Mafia romance has more of a ring to it, I think.
well, I mean, you could say Bratva romance or Yakuza romance, but not
Yeah.
everybody's going to automatically
Right.
know what that means. Whereas
Right.
culturally speaking, we
Yeah.
kind of do know what mafia means.
Yes.
Which explains, I guess, because it just startled me at first when I happened to look at the Corset Girls on Amazon the other day. I saw that, underneath they always have that ribbon on Amazon books where they say, we have other recommendations if you like this book, and apart from one hockey romance, which I couldn't figure where the tie-in was there, but most of the other books they had were crime romances, and I thought, what? But I guess that explains it. Yeah.
There you go. There
lateral
you go.
thinking. It's lateral thinking.
That's it. That's what it is. I love that.
Algorithm.
So would you then categorize this? I think you basically already said this, but I just want to clarify. This would be considered an historical romance that's also suspense?
It is historical romantic suspense, the entire, yeah, which is why you'll notice, and though the color choice isn't great, but under my name on the title, you'll notice it says a brand new dark historical romance. Dark is the word that my publisher uses to describe books that are essentially suspense, romantic suspense.
I see.
Though I think they also call it that maybe on the back cover or in the blurb. Yeah.
I would suggest that not to put anybody off who says, oh, I don't like dark romance. The darkness is not the relationship between the two main characters.
No.
The darkness is the situations in which they find themselves and his background.
Exactly.
But the romance is not problematic.
No, so I think dark means something different to American readers versus UK readers.
I think it means something different between individual readers.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There is that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I just wanted to make it clear that it's not that the relationship that is the centerpiece of the book is, violent or
no. That no, it's got none of that, and people that are looking for that are not going to find that in the Corset Girl. But it is about how the dark past of all the characters catches up with them and produces patience in the present. And we all have baggage. And the baggage that people bring into a romance really, I think, is what gives it the texture and really enables readers to get into deeper and deeper levels of exploration of the characters. Because if they just had a happy life and then they're happy, I don't know. That's okay. That's fun, but it's not what I write.
Right.
Yeah.
So did you find yourself when you were researching the book, or did you even need to do research? It sounds like this was already part of your background in cultural history. Did you learn anything new as you were researching this, or did you just feel like this is in my wheelhouse and I'm so ready to write this?
Yes and no. I'm a Victorian era specialist. I mean, I have several, as all scholars do. I have several areas of specialization. And one of them is Victorian Britain and the continent. And so I had a bunch of information, but no matter how much information you have, it's never what you need for the particular book or the particular passage. About the only thing I honestly didn't have to do any additional research on was the corsets. I mean, I already knew, I know, an absolute wagon load of stuff. If you have any questions at all about corseting.
I will say something though. I'm an historian as well, but for historians in general or academics of other things, is that when they go to write historical romance, they don't necessarily already have the research done, but they know how to do the research. And that's why I admire people who aren't historians, because they got to figure out how to do the research and then do the research. Whereas, I feel like if I needed to write an historical romance or an historical anything, it's like, well, I'm not going to know the details, but I know where to look for them. So I think that's one situation where I always admire people who don't have that background, who kind of have to figure that out,
Right.
especially when they were doing it prior to the internet.
Right.
So they have to research how to research.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so true.
A lot of trouble. So yes, I admire their diligence and pluck for doing that, but it of course can be done. I mean, these are skills like any other skills, and I teach tutorials in them, and but in book 2, for example, which is Unbound, the train, I mean, there are things that no scholar can really be conversant with in advance. I mean, you have to get the specific need, before you plunge into an area of research. But in book 2, for example, train schedules and train routes become enormously important, not only in the UK, but or in what was called Britain at that time, mostly England, but also in Scotland and in France. And there were certain routes that would work for a certain destination and certain routes that would not. And so I spent hours and hours with a facsimile edition of Bradshaw's Railway Guide, which was the very famous thick publication that you had to look in if you wanted to get a train, from London to, I don't know, Devonshire, which is where a lot of the action takes place in Unbound. And then from Devonshire to the south of France, where you had to take completely different trains than the ones you would take if you were going to Paris, because you're going to Bordeaux, which is, I mean, you could go to Paris, but it would take you way out of your way. And so just to know that, I mean, it took a lot. But
do you find that your readers really appreciate how much you stick to the actual history, to the accuracy of the time?
I hope so. Again, it's a case of as our good friend Sachs says, it's a case of embedding it in the day-to-day life of the characters. You can't stop and say, well, she, it was well known that train service had improved. It's like, who cares? But if she's stuck somewhere and she only has so much money and she has a deadline and she has to get from the south of France to London by a certain time, and it's like, then it becomes, I need to know how the heck she's going to do this. And the main thing is that my editor loves it. How lucky am I? My editor is a history nut, just like me.
Oh, that's perfect. Sounds like a match made in heaven.
It is. So we have the most fun. We really do.
I love it. Terry says, I always appreciate an author who has done their research. It can put me off of the book when you have too many inaccuracies, for sure. For sure. And I wanted to ask you too, speaking of this, did you do a great deal of research on the gangs of the time?
Yeah, I did. In an early draft, I actually used the name of a gang persona that I thought came out of my head. And then kind of at a last minute before I submitted the draft to the editor, I went, wait a minute, I need to research this name a little more. It turns out it was a real gang person. And now I could have used it because this was a person who'd been dead for quite a long time.
Right.
But then I would then I would have been bound to write his character in a way that was fully consistent with what we know about that person's life. And I said, no, this is going to take me down a rabbit hole that I'm never going to be able to claw my way out of. So I changed the name, which was simple enough. But I was careful to research it deeply to make sure that I wasn't just substituting one known criminal for another known criminal, and I was not.
That has never occurred to me that you would need to double check and make sure you weren't accidentally using someone's real name.
Well, you
That's
can
fascinating.
You can do it in book 3. I bring in Winston Churchill because part of the action in book 3 takes place in Cuba in 1895, which was Cuba was a political mess. That was before what Americans call the Spanish-American War, the War of Cuban independence. And Winston Churchill was 21 years old, and he managed, in search of adventure, he managed to get permission to go to Cuba to observe on behalf of Spain and Great Britain, not on behalf of the rebels.
Wow. Oh my goodness. How fascinating.
So I can bring him in, but the research, I mean, I could have left him out, but I couldn't have left him out. He was too important. Even at the time, even as just a 21-year-old, he was important. I mean, everybody on the island would have known who he was, and there were articles about him in the newspaper. I couldn't leave him out, but because I couldn't leave him out, I had to do reams and reams of research about his absolute day-to-day itinerary. I had to know exactly where he was on thus and such a day at 9 o'clock in the morning.
So is there going to be a subsequent book where they go to South Africa and run into him there?
No, they don't. The books don't go that far, but they, or I don't know. What am I saying? No, I'm hoping I'm going to get an offer to extend the series for like 12 books. In which case, all bets are off.
Well, you could be telling this. You could be telling the stories of the flower girls, the girls in the flower house.
Yeah,
or the flower garden. Yeah.
Or the radio girls, World War I. I mean, I could take it right up to. I have a work in progress that actually starts in 1910 and goes up through the end of World War I. That's also historical romantic.
You know, people still do wear corsets for time to time and for different things. So you could bring it up to the contemporary, and you could have different kinds of corset makers. You could have one who makes it for film and television, one who does kind of like the orthopedic types of corsets for people with orthopedic problems, you know, and people who do it for Renaissance fairs, you know.
There you go.
And let's not forget those World War II married widows.
Yeah.
Those, yeah. They are so uncomfortable. I would take a Victorian corset any day of the week over a World War II era married widow. Those things are so darn uncomfortable. But boy,
well, I would say the discomfort of the everyday corset is kind of exaggerated because the corsets I've worn have not been that uncomfortable.
No, nor mine.
In fact, that was like the best that my poitrine, that my front and my back were supported, was I was wearing an Elizabethan style corset.
Yeah.
And it was really comfortable. I couldn't bend quite. I didn't have quite the sort of, I couldn't do the twisty stuff, but man, my back at the end of that day, my back felt better than it had since I was like 14.
Oh, I believe it. I had to wear. I was on staff at the Henry B. Plant Museum in Tampa for 21 years, and part of my remit there was that I was the lead in a living history, a museum theater program that I actually created, and I wore a Victorian era corset for at least 4 days a week, all day, and a well-made corset, even a steel-boned one of the Victorian era. You get very used to it. I could run, I could jump, I probably could have played tennis in it. You know, I mean, you get used to it. There are things that modern women wear that would have horrified Victorian women. They would never have worn them. Brassieres, they would have thought that was an instrument of torture. You know, it's like.
I would point out too, is it not just well made, but also well fitted.
Yeah, there is, right.
An ill-fitting corset is gonna, yeah, that's not gonna be great.
No, that sounds terrible. This is fascinating.
Also, there's a big difference between corseting and tight lacing. Tight lacing, the custom that came in toward the end of the Victorian era, was not comfortable.
Yeah.
That was designed deliberately to compress the waist to unrealistic, 18-inch waist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was not comfortable. But women usually did not tight lace all day, every day. And working class women did not tight lace. They were not paragons of fashion. They were not going to wear, that sort. They couldn't afford that sort. Once in a great while, they might tight lace for an important engagement, as my heroine does. She complains about having to tight lace because she wants to project a certain image in an outfit. So it's the same as today. I mean, you wear a push-up underwired bra when you're going to a cocktail party with that dress, but that doesn't mean you wear it when you're gardening.
Right. Terry says, I have made 4 corsets to this date. My last one is quite comfortable. Nicole wants you to know that we were local. I lived in Brandon, Florida, and went to USF.
I used to live in Riverview.
Oh my goodness.
On a farm, on an organic farm.
Isn't that neat? HB Plant is beautiful. Visited for the first time in elementary school, and this place always fascinated me.
Oh, you may have seen me. Did you see Victorians Undressed? That was the program. I was Mrs. G.W. Bergner, and another actor and I started in Victorian underwear.
Oh my heavens.
On stage. And then we ripped off our dressing gowns and we have this Victorian undergarments underneath. And then we dress up to a full upper class promenade outfit to show kids, what could be involved in clothing. Yeah, it was fun. It was great fun.
Stacey says, we're still wearing shapewear, Spanx, etc. Some things never change. So true. So true. And Terry adds, if your body can tight lace, not everybody can. Not everybody can. I cannot believe we're already coming towards the end of our time together. So I wanted to ask you one of my favorite questions. What do you feel makes a great story?
Story. That's the word. It's in the question. It's story, 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 story. Readers can overlook, unless it's just glaring and interferes with the story, they can overlook less than brilliant writing. They can overlook characters that are maybe not as deeply developed as they should be, if the story is strong. You look at Victorian melodramas, with Simon Legree twirling his mustache and little Nell tied to the tracks going, no, I'll never sign the deed. So these are not deeply elaborated things, but the story is good. And so audiences, when they see them acted on the stage, even sophisticated audiences will sit there going, they're just caught up in it. So, the story's got to be great. If you've got a great story and you want it to be a great novel, then yes, you need to get all the other aspects up to the same level. the characters, the world building, everything. But the story is number one. If your story's weak, I don't care how good your writing is. It ain't gonna fly.
I love that. I love that. And what would you say resonates most with your audience? What do you hear most frequently?
The most common positive comment I get is I really could feel what she was feeling, talking about, for example, and sometimes they'll say I really could feel what he was feeling. One of the two main characters, or sometimes both of them, they related to their thought processes. I succeeded somehow in conveying what they were feeling and thinking, that readers said, yeah, I really got into their head. If I can do that, I'm good.
Yeah. Or if they had trouble using the microwave to make their vegetables during lunch because they were so immersed in the time period. Sock, would you do the honor of asking this one?
Okay. This is a question I used to ask in the comments, and now B has incorporated it into the as a standard question that she always asks, but now I get to ask it. If I were to burn a candle while reading your book, well, what would it be? What would you suggest?
Well, fragrance is very important in all my books because it's important to me. I'm kind of which is amazing for someone that has as many allergies as I have, but I'm totally into scent. It's the first thing I notice when I walk into a room. It's the first thing I notice about a person, for good or ill. Smell. And so I incorporate smells into my book. In book one, the smell would be sandalwood, which was Queen Victoria was the first to start using sandalwood soap, and it was being imported from India. And it is a soap that the main male character washes his body with it. And so the female main character picks up on that scent right away. So for the corset girls, sandalwood.
Okay.
I would say that, I don't always know, since I do this is like my thing. I burn candles while I read books to enhance the atmosphere. And I don't always know what the candle is going to be. So sometimes I don't choose until I've read some of the book to find out. And so it's like the first scent mentioned or something like that. And I noticed that you're very attentive to smell in the first pages of that book, but they're not smells you would want in a candle.
No.
They're historically accurate Whitechapel 1888 kinds of smells. And so I actually ended up choosing, because I did this before she got a chance to, I don't think sandalwood was mentioned yet when I chose the candle. I chose a candle I have called Fresh Cotton and Linen, because she's working with fabrics. And then as I'm reading it, she actually talks about, you talk about through her about silk corsets versus cotton corsets.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, this is good. We like this. And it doesn't smell like rotting fish heads.
which takes place in a brothel, a high-end brothel.
It explains why she does what she does next. It's a setup for that. And then something else happens. And this whole train of events is set in motion by her thinking about the difference between a silk corset and a cotton corset.
Cotton couture. And
so I was like, I had already chosen that candle, and I was like, oh, that is actually plot specific.
Yes, you probably would not have wanted a heavy floral, because that's what the brothel was using. A little bit, what goes on there.
What am I trying to disguise?
Too funny. Too funny.
I don't know, B, if you have the picture that I took for Instagram.
Oh, yes. Oh my heavens.
I did the book and candle pairings is like the basis of my Instagram account. That's what I do there. So I posted this yesterday to, say I had read this book and this is the candle I burned, and to also point out that this was going to be happening today. So I don't know. Do you have it?
I'm sorry. Yes, I do. You're so good, Sock. And you told me ahead of time. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh no, I'm doing too many things at once. Here we are. Ta-da!
And with your permission, I'd like to use that image on my Facebook page.
Oh yeah, please do.
So if they miss it, here they can look on my Facebook page and find it there. But yeah, I was
and it's kind of hard to read what the candle is. It's in the caption, but it's fresh cotton and linen, because I just couldn't get every element I wanted. I have the pin cushion, which is also plot specific.
So
I went to
fun.
my mom and I said, do we have a pin cushion somewhere around I could use? I need it as a prop because it is a plot specific pin cushion.
Yes.
And then I had to design something because usually I read physical books. So I was like, okay, but I'm reading this online. So I had to figure out a way to make it visually interesting with my laptop.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
She always does. She always does. I love it so much.
Clever.
Well, where can we look for you online? Where do you recommend? And I have everything linked in my description box, by the way, for those of you that don't want to search all over the place, but tell us.
Go to the links. I'm on Instagram, Annie R. McEwen, and on my website, which is just anniermcEwen.com. My Facebook page, which I can never say the link, but it'll be in the description.
Yeah.
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on good grief, Linktree. Yeah.
Well, you obviously have an Amazon page, so.
I have an Amazon Central. Yeah, my author page. If you go to any of my books, and it'll say at the bottom something like, I don't know what it says, meet the author or something like that. You click it, it'll take you to my author page, which is very short. I don't do a long song and dance on it.
Do you do an author newsletter?
I do. If you go to my website to the contact page, you can subscribe. It's a monthly newsletter. It's short and funny. I try to make it funny because I am an historian. I usually start with some quirky, weird little tidbit of history that people may not know, or the backstory to some historical tidbit. So yeah, please do DM me. I'd love to do some corset talk because
how fun. Yeah, the two of you, Terry, she knows so many things about historical wear as well. So you two will have a great time talking. I love it so much. Well, thank you so much for sharing your time with us this morning. I just can't thank you enough, and for being so flexible. And we are so excited. I know Sock was talking about how she had just read the first book, the second one coming out this August. So much to look forward to. This is so exciting.
Yeah.
And what we will do right now is we are going to do a 30-minute reading sprint, and then we will be joined by another historical romance author. I'm going to say her name wrong because it's French. Virginie Marconato. Yes, thank you so much. And Sock, you probably have to run, right? Because I know you're doing
I do. But I just wanted to remember I had a book I was going to talk about just quickly. So that people can maybe, if they're looking for a weekend read and they're participating in the Ever Afterathon, or even if they're not, this might be interesting to them. So I don't know if Annie wants to stick around for that, or
I'll stick around.
She's okay. Well, this is a time travel romance. It was published by Timeswept back in the 90s, and I had a really good time reading it. And when I went to put it on Goodreads, I found out that it's available on Kindle Unlimited, which is not always true of those romances from the 90s. So I put a thing about it in the Discord for the Ever Afterathon, but it's worth a lot of points, even if you're not Team Traveler, because it does not take place in England or Scotland. It takes place in New Jersey.
Oh,
and it is also mob adjacent. So we have, this is gorgeous cover, Interlude in Time by Rita Clay Estrada, and it wraps around to the back. And what happens is, this was published in 1994, and a woman from 1993 goes back to 1929. And she gets mixed up with people with mob ties, including the male main character, who is actually a reporter who's undercover trying to bust open the mob. So it's a lot of fun. It's very fast paced, and Al Capone has a supporting role and about incorporating real life people. And
Get
really
out.
interesting for a book that was published in 1994 about a woman from 1993, there is a brief reference to a person who was not yet president of the United States
Oh
and who
my.
currently is president of the United States. But because it's 1994, 1993, 1994, it is an apolitical reference. Because this person, as you can probably guess, was not a politician at the time. So it's just a glancing apolitical reference. So I just was like, I'm like, oh, I'm reading for this escapist fun to get away from 2025. And I'm like, oh my goodness, the president is in here, but not as the president. And how you feel about that is totally your business.
That is too
I
funny.
just, it just kind of cracked me up. I was like, what?
In the last 5 months or so, that happened to us as well. We were watching Home Alone 2, and
Oh,
Kevin,
yes. The current
I was
president
like,
had a cameo in that.
and
He
also the movie
actually, the
Zoolander.
scuttlebutt is that he insisted on that in exchange for permission to film in that location.
Stop.
And they were going to just like, okay, sure, we'll put you in the movie, we'll do a little cameo. And then they were like, we're not going to include it in amongst themselves. The producers were like, we're not going to use this in the movie, except that then when they screened it with that clip in for a test audience, the test audience just thought it was so funny, and they were like really happy about it, and they applauded. And so they were like, yeah, we'll leave that in.
Oh my gosh. That's so crazy. And
They
then
were
we
like, I think they were thinking that nobody outside of New York would even know who that was.
right.
But he already had a national profile at that point.
That is hilarious. And he in the movie Zoolander, that really quirky movie that came out around 2000 with Ben Stiller about like male models. It's just funny. They have him on like the he was interviewed and in the movie. I'm like, what in the world? It was so surprising. Anyway, but I digress. Well,
And
thank you
anyway,
Scott, for that
so this is like a
recommendation.
400 page, but it goes really, really fast, and it goes really, really fast. It's really fun to
Nice.
read, and it's worth a lot of points if you're a team traveler, and a fair number of points even if you're not.
Yay, wonderful. All
And it's
right,
a good
ladies.
week. It's a good thing to read on the weekend.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. And if we're having
As
crummy weather this
is the
weekend,
Corset Girls Unlaced.
exactly. Exactly. Well said, Sock. Well said. Good job bringing it all back around. Well, ladies, thank you very much for
Read the
joining us.
Corset Girls Unlaced. You won't be
Yes,
sorry.
that's right. Sock loved it. She gives it, it's got Sock approval. We love it. We love it. And what we're going to do, because it's Mother's Day in the US this weekend, I thought it would be fun if we were to do a women running, because that's what a lot of these moms are doing this week with Teacher Appreciation Week, all the things going on at the end of the school year for many moms. So I thought that would be fun. So what we're going to do is we're going to do, oh, I have to clear it. I did the wrong number here. We are going to do a 24-minute sprint. I know it's bizarrely specific, but here we are. This is the way the day is going. So, yes, we will share the screen. We will head to this. You can choose your lady by number or by color of blouse. And we're going to see who winds up winning during our short and sweet sprints. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us. And we look forward to talking with you again.
Bye.
Bye. And number 2 has won. So Paige, surprise, surprise. She always wins. Wyoming also, Angel Wolf has also won. So you guys get to start the weekend with a win. Wonderful. Too funny. Well, I'm going to remove this now. That was a lot of fun. And I am so very excited because we have a fabulous author joining us today. Hello, welcome. Now, I am terrible at
Hello.
pronouncing French. Please say your name for me. I'm not even going to attempt because I just know I won't do it justice.
Okay. Virginie Marconato.
That was beautiful. And I'm so thankful I didn't try. It's my American accent.
Marconato is actually an Italian name, but Virginie is very French.
Oh, how wonderful. I had heard that. I had heard that. And in fact, we have a friend who is up in Canada. She's a native French speaker, and she was helping me with the pronunciation of your name, but I still just don't have the confidence to do it.
No, it's fine. Don't worry. I've
You're
yet
so
to meet an English speaker who can.
Okay, so I'm in good company then.
But call me V. People call me V.
I can handle that. All right, V.
Yeah.
We're in business. Okay.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh, how perfect. Well, I have to say, we first heard about you not too long ago through good old Nikki Pascarella and Giovanna Siniscalchi through their Wanton Wallflowers. And we were so intrigued when we saw that you had donated one of your lovely historical romances to some of the winners of the giveaway that they were doing on that lovely night that we did for Medieval March, which was so much fun. Now, my historical romance readers, we're avid historical romance buffs. One thing we say is we enjoy Regency era, but the thing that we miss and what we're constantly looking for is something else. And so I was so thrilled when you said you'd be willing to join us. Yes, because we are going to get to experience through as much of your backlist as you're willing to go through this morning. Very excited to hear about your work and just the type of history that you cover in your beautiful historical romances. So I wanted to start this morning by asking you to take us through your journey to publishing your first book.
It was a long one, obviously. I think that's what you hear from everyone. But I started by self-publishing because while I was trying to find publishers, and seems so long ago now, I found a few small press. So I started from there. First with my pen name. I actually have a pen name, writing still medieval romance, but spicier. So she got the deal first, and then it was more the Virginie who started to take off when I joined this publisher I'm working with at the moment. And the Viking and the medieval series, the Welsh series, is with them. And it's been a game changer for me. They're great, they're supportive, and I get to do what I want to do. Write medieval story.
Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, and we have Amina here this morning. Amina, good morning or good afternoon. She is in France. So she is especially thrilled to have a fellow French speaker in our midst. So exciting. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Okay.
So let's talk about, I made some slides as I love to do, and man, did I have a good time. Ignore that one because I want to get to a specific one. I want to talk about your upcoming release, and I'm sure we'll talk about everything, but this is a second chance for Karis, which I believe is book 3 of the Welsh Rebels series, correct?
Correct.
Oh my gosh.
This was my my first attempt at an older couple. Because
we love that. We love that. Tell us all
So
about this. I'm excited.
He's 50, she's 47. They're both widowed and thinking it's over now. But obviously it's not.
Yay!
We have the same theme as the rest of the series, a Welsh one and an English one. Usually the women are Welsh and the men are English, but in one of the books we'll swap around. But so this one, she's Welsh, Caris, and his James is from England. I gave him my husband's name.
Oh, now
Because
is he like your husband?
I wish. Well, yes, he is actually. This is why. Because he's old. Compared to my... I mean, as opposed to my usual 25, 30-year-old heroes.
Right.
So I gave him James because I wanted, he has the same kind of personality, more, quiet and reserved rather than exuberant. But he's English in the book, but my husband is Welsh, hence my love for everything British and Welsh in particular. So he's my James because he's my James, my version of my James.
Wow, I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. Wow. Okay. So, we have a couple comments you're just going to love. We've got more silver foxes. Yes. We need all the silver foxes. And Amanda says, I love older couples still younger than me, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Too fun.
It's more a salt and pepper fox.
Which we also appreciate. After a while, it's like, oh, they're both 19.
Actually, he is... He's half Egyptian. Now I remember it.
He's half Egyptian.
He's got this dark feeling going on. Because I thought I wanted him dark and brooding and mysterious. So I wove in this half Egyptian, and it plays a small part, obviously, in the book. But this one was a very fun one to read. A real unusual. A change from usual, younger couple dynamics, but I loved it.
That is so neat. Now, did you have to do any research about Egypt or before you did this, or what made you want him to be? Sorry, I know we're on a lag here.
I think it's because I wanted him to look different and darker anyway. So I had to explain this look. Plus, I wanted him to understand Caris, who's gone to live in England at the beginning of the book. So I wanted him to understand where she's coming from when she feels not at home and rejects her origins. So I wanted them to have this in common.
I love that.
And I so happened to speak to a friend of mine who's half Algerian and half Italian. And I thought, obviously, for me, at the time, the Ottoman Empire had links, with Europe through exchange and merchants. So I thought his parents would be like that. And I can't reveal much more because it's not so important, but I want the surprise in the book. So that's just went from there.
I love that. And what made you want to do a more mature couple too? Because as you've seen, like, we're very excited about that. But had your audience said anything? Was it you just felt like it was time to try a different age range, or what made you choose to do that?
It's because Caris is the mother of the heroine in book 2, so she has a very small role because she's the mother. And I thought, I need to do her story. I need to do her. And so if she's older, we need an older man, etc. And it didn't take me long to think, yes, I'm very excited about this project.
Oh my heavens, I love that.
It very often happens that the characters want to be written about. I didn't set off to do Caris, but she sort of oh, I'm here. I want my story. And because I mentioned James for other reasons in the same book, I thought, there we go. It was obvious.
I love that. I love that. Amina says, the Ottoman Empire, this is my husband. Oh my gosh, how perfect. You wrote this book for me. Perfect. I love it. I love it so much. So, okay, so the Welsh rebels. Tell us about these Welsh rebels. What time period is this? And where does this take place? Typically, the series.
Obviously, I put it at the time of the conquest. Edward I, the English king, wanted to invade, as he did, in Wales. It took a few years, but my series starts when the conquest, if you want, has been well established. So we start in 1296, a few years when he's established a few castles in the area and put his own men in position. So I wanted to see the conflict between the invaders and the local people, sort of thing. And obviously the conflict of how do you like or even love someone who's supposed to be your enemy, who doesn't understand you, who might despise you and your culture. I always love this type of dynamics. I have a Viking series and it's exactly the same idea. A mixed couple. I think I must have written, 35 books, and there must be 2 where the 2 main characters are the same nationality, because that's something I really like to do. Having mixed, probably because I'm married to a Welsh person myself, I suppose.
Right. I love it.
It adds so much to have a different culture at home and to be able to live a different life and learn new things. I just love it. Plus, it's very sexy to have different languages.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Isn't that fun? Oh my gosh, I love this. You have such a unique perspective. I love that. Now, you had mentioned earlier that your last name is Italian. So how does that come in? If you feel comfortable sharing.
No, you mean in my books or in my life?
Either. Any way you want to answer that. I think it would be fun to find out anything.
Well, my grandparents were Italian. That's why I've got the name, which I kept when I got married. I want, that's my name. It's me. I'm not changing my name.
I love it.
And in the books, it's not so easy to put in because Italy didn't exist, obviously, in the Middle Ages, which is my area. I have written a Judith Falcon, my pen name. I've written a novella set later in the Regency, and I put an Italian character. Italy didn't exist, but she's from Venice. So I did use that for her because it made sense, because the book was set in a different era. But for a Middle Ages, I haven't found a way in to exploit Italy yet, but might come. You never know.
Well, yeah, it's funny. Terry just asked if since your last name is Italian, would you consider having a medieval Italian historical romance?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. But this would require a lot of research because, as I said, Italy was such a mosaic of republics and dukedoms, etc. at the time. It's wholly unfamiliar at the moment, and I wouldn't want to, make a glaring mistake. So I'm so comfortable with the Welsh English side, and I've got so many things at the moment on this one that it's at the back of my mind, but might not happen just yet.
I love it. Yeah, you definitely have quite a few irons in the fire, as they say. Terry says, I will take any France medieval too. And that you would have to do quite a bit of research. Now, do you enjoy doing the research that you need to do in order to write these incredible books?
Well, if you consider research, going to old castles in beautiful landscapes, speaking to people and reading fascinating books, yes, I do.
Do you also need to enjoy the cuisine while you're there by chance?
But Wales is great for many things, but the cuisine maybe is not
okay.
is
Okay.
not the obvious one. But okay. No research. I've been fascinated with Middle Ages since I was, I don't know, 10. So I've been reading books and bathing in that environment forever, and watch documentaries for my pleasure. So obviously I'm not saying I know everything, but
Sure.
when I think of a specific area or a moment in history for my books, if it comes to my mind, it's because I know it already. Then I will obviously need to check a few things. Who was king again? Or,
Right.
maybe
Sure.
not that one,
Yeah.
but a few
Right.
things like that.
Yeah.
But I love it. Oh, it's a new opportunity for me to learn about something I really enjoy anyway. So it's more fun than anything else.
I love it. I love it. Here's a very specific question. I have visited, I don't know, I'm not going to say the name of the castle. Have
I've
you?
heard of this one, and I've wanted to go for a while, but it's not very very close to where I am. I know for American people, a 3-hour drive is nothing, but but I think it would be like a 5 or 6 hours for me, and so it's not something I'm thinking tomorrow I'll go there. So, but I want to.
Yeah. Oh my heavens. This just sounds amazing. I love this cover, by the way. Did you have any input into the way that it was designed?
The covers, you have talks with the artist beforehand and you explain what type of cover you want, obviously. But I was focusing more not on the where they are or that type of things, but more on the dynamic of the couple. For example, I wanted this one to show that they are a more mature couple and it's not a passionate embrace or something lusty or something like that. So it could be that book number 2, for example, because of the story, I wanted it obvious that the man exactly is very protective of her. Book number 1, it had to be a bit smoldering, I would say. So I give her that type of, obviously you describe their appearance, but this is more what I wanted. And she came up with all the idea of the roses and the looks and I just love them. I love these covers. Yes, it looks fierce. Exactly.
Yeah.
When I opened my email and I saw him and I went, oh. Because he'd been living in my mind for years. And suddenly I saw him and I thought, yeah.
That must have been such a neat experience.
That's one of the great moments when you live with your characters and then you meet them and you think, yes, voila.
I love it. I love it. And I love how it seems like the way that you experience your characters is somewhat unique when you had mentioned with, for example, in book 2, her mother, Karis, you weren't setting out to write about her, but she came to you and said, where's my book? I love it.
Exactly. It's the same with my first Viking series. I had to add a novella at the end because there's a blacksmith mentioned here and there in the stories. I needed him as a tool, ironically, and I thought, I can't leave him on his own like this. I need to do something with this Magnus. Yes. But I never imagined he would end up having his own story. But they take over, is one way of putting it.
I love that.
It's like setting up a stage. And someone going, where's my role? And you think, go away. You're not supposed to. And then you go, what if I did this? And you think, aha.
Oh my gosh. Too funny.
And it's great when I start a new book because I realized when I started book 6 of this Wedge series 3 days ago, as soon as I started to write the dialogue for the heroine, I thought, I'd never intended to make her speak like this. She wanted to speak like this. It's not me. I don't know how to explain this.
I love it. I just think that's so neat. I love that. I love that. I'm going to ask a great question. It feels cool. Oh, no, I just missed it. Do you write in French and then get them to translate? How does that work? No.
I've tried and tried to write in French. Always has ended up with drivel. It was awful. I think it's because I only read in English. So, and I read a lot of Histrom, obviously. So I'm used to this English music coupled with the love stories. And in French, it's awkward, and they have this tu and vous problem. Exactly. Amina, there's no, know what I mean. For the others, it's difficult to explain, because even though it's my native language, it doesn't feel as romantic or natural. So I actually dread the day when my books are translated into French.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Very awkward. It takes twice as long in French to say the same thing. So the sentences are very long and clunky, I find. It's not... I know American people will think, oh, French, they're so romantic.
It's true.
To me, there's nothing more normal than French language. So, and it's more expressive in English as well. A lot more.
Isn't that fascinating? I love that. I also feel the need to say, as an American, I notice when there are commercials for like skincare products and things, when they want them to seem very fancy, they always have the person narrating the commercial with a French accent.
This is one thing I've never understood, because I absolutely hate hearing French people speak English.
Oh my gosh, this is too funny.
It's awful, but okay.
Well, what can you do? The romantic for us is Italian. Interesting. It's a romantic language flirt. I love it.
Exactly.
Oh, there she goes. Now she's going to speak Italian. I love it. I love it. And
I agree.
When Terry and I have actually spoken about this as a native French speaker who's in Canada, she was saying, and Terry, I'm gonna say what you're gonna say, that she prefers to read her books in the original language. If it was written in French, she wants to read the French version. If it was written in English, she wants to read the English version, because she just feels like things get lost in translation. So just sort of fascinating. You just made me think of that. Yeah. So you mentioned Oh, sorry. No, please.
No. You just want access to what the author originally intended to say, the way they intended to say it, which I hope you recognize the style as well, because a certain author will like to use, I don't know, a certain type of adjectives, for example, or they have longer sentences or shorter ones, and if the translator is good, you could get a sense of this, but often you have to compromise all the time. They don't have this concept, or they've never heard of this person, or they wouldn't get the reference about this. So you have to find an equivalent, and it could work, but it's a different story or a different book. That's a bit extreme. It's not the same.
So, oh my gosh.
It's like following a recipe, 2 different people, you end up with 2 different dishes. Both can be good, but they're different.
Yes. Oh, I love that analogy. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And sometimes the translator doesn't get a concept. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, exactly. Because, I don't know. For example, before she asked me about Guédelon Castle, I know what she means. You don't, or maybe you do, but So if I mentioned it in a book, it would be for a purpose because it evokes this, that, and the other.
Mm.
In the translation, you can't just say, "Oh, and by the way, we mean." So you lose some of the subscript. Is that a word?
It is a word. It is.
Is that the one I want? You know.
Yeah, sure. Yes, we know what you mean.
You lose what's between the lines if you want.
I like that, Terry. Subculture. Yes. Yes, I see what you're saying. Yes. And now, thanks to you, B, my romantic English is getting better than my sexy French. Oh, but you're such a, I love it. I love it. So, okay, tell us when. Now, at this point, those of us that are really excited about these Welsh Rebels, we can certainly read the very first one and the second one. When is this one coming out?
27th.
The
You don't have long to wait.
Not at all.
You've got time to read the first two.
Love
and then
that.
go straight into the number 3. After that, they will be coming quite quickly. So
now I see you just mentioned the 6th one. I found
I love them.
Yeah, oh my gosh, these covers are just gorgeous. I don't have the 6th cover, but I was able to grab, this is the 4th one and the 5th. Just beautiful. Am I wrong?
You have an earlier version. It's very similar, but
oh, they've changed it. Oh, they've changed it. Okay, gotcha.
We changed the man on the next one, the Jane one.
Oh,
we've changed slightly.
Okay. You have quite the eye. Okay, good to know. Then I would tell. I will not that you don't need to do this.
I've got the eye. It's my baby. So
I love it. I love it so much. Oh, here's a good question. Terry wants to know how you pronounce it because I don't know either because this is Welsh. So
Sean. It's a long sound. Sean. Bit. No, Sean. I don't know how to.
You said it right. I know. I just know I can't repeat it. This is like my 5-year-old daughter will say things, and I say the same thing back to her, and then she's like, "No, it's blah." And I'm like, "I literally just said that." It's funny. Again, lost in translation.
I think for French people, it means Jane. It's the Welsh for Jane. So in French, Jane is Jeanne. So it's very similar to Jeanne, Sean, I think.
Wow. Oh my heavens. Isn't that neat? Oh, Terry knew. She's usually the person who helps me with certain pronunciations. Yeah. She got it. She nailed it. And then we've got that one. I know that one. Thank heavens. Let's see. So I don't want to leave any stone unturned this morning. I'm just having so much fun. Oh, like Sean is the equivalent for John.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
In fact, the Welsh for John is Sean. Like Sean, if you want, with an O instead of an A, with the same accent. Sion with the accent, and it's Sean.
Oh my
So the guy is Sean, and she's Shan. You see the difference?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Isn't that neat? I love that. Okie dokie. So we've talked a little bit about this series. What else do we want to say about the Welsh Rebels? Because I wanted to talk to you, if you didn't mind, about your Viking books as well. We have quite a few Viking fans here this morning. So what else do we want to say about Welsh Rebels? Because I don't want to miss anything.
Welsh Rebels, like the Vikings, I started with one generation. So book 1, book 2, they are the 2 brothers. Book 3, the Caris one, is the mother of Branwen. And then we skip a decade, more or less, because Sean and Jane are the daughters of the first couple. Okay?
Ooh.
So we span about 20 years, something like that. And in book 6, the last one, who you don't have on yet.
Right, I don't have that one yet.
It's called A Scot for Bethan. Bethan, what am I saying? Bethan. And so we'll quickly go into the aftermath of Bannockburn. So let's say 1317. So we've got, a 20-year span over 6 books.
Oh my gosh. That is neat. I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Amina says, "There's nothing as pretty as a Viking." And I want
to see?
Yes.
You want to see the covers of my Viking? I love my job.
Are these, is this the Noble Norseman? Is this what we're talking about or no?
Yes,
it is.
That's the one. Mm-hmm.
Okay. These covers.
That's book 1, book 2. Book 3, the ginger one. I love it.
I know.
Book 4 is young. This one is 10 years younger than his heroine.
Oh, we do love that. We love a reverse age gap. Sorry.
Yeah, this one is actually, she's the Viking, the Norse woman, and he's the Saxon this time. Usually the man is the Saxon. And you see? And this one is the son of book 2's hero and the daughter of book 1's hero. So they meet as children all throughout the series, and then we get their story again 20 years later in 1066. And this is the
sorry. Okay.
And this is the blacksmith that just needed his story.
I love it. And this is, you said this is a novella.
Yes, this one is. It's I think it shows already in the cover that it's slightly different because it's inside, the colors are very different. I think it's
yes, no, I agree with you. Yes.
It's still in keeping with the rest, but we have a different vibe, and it's a novella. It must be about 27K long or something like this.
And for those people that enjoy novellas or just want to try out your style, do you recommend starting with this or no, because it's at the end, or what would you recommend?
I think I always make a point of writing books in my series as easy standalone. I don't like when we have to read the rest, otherwise we don't understand or we miss. Obviously, it's always better if you read in order and you read them all, because you then think, oh yeah, I remember this guy or something like that, but you don't need to. So if you just go straight into this one, hopefully you might think, well, you might miss the fact, you must miss a joke, for example, that when they say, oh, remember the day you got trapped outside the mill or something, and they might think, but you wouldn't know that you were supposed to know. It might look like a joke or something, whereas it's more a flashback if you actually read the books. But yes, I'm sure you could dive in and think, I enjoyed it in itself.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad I asked that question. There's one more cover that I had to show. This is the books 1 through 3. I was like, I know it's still just 3 of the books again, but I mean, I just needed to include this cover.
Exactly.
So yes.
The publisher suggested we did a box set. Obviously, I thought, why not?
Yeah.
They sent me an idea. They sent me this guy, and I thought, yeah, let's do a box set,
I didn't say yes until I saw the cover.
And then I thought, damn, I already got the books. I might have to buy this box set now, but never mind.
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. We've got so many people. No, what?
Yummy.
Yes. Yes. Yummy is one of my favorite words. Yes. Oh my gosh, you're so right. People are very excited about this series. Terry asks, what about Vikings coming to Normandy?
You really want them in France, don't you?
Oh my God.
Well, I haven't mentioned any in my books, but actually this summer, once I've finished this Welsh series, book 6, which won't take long now, I'm going back to the spin-off series from the one you have in front of you.
Oh.
So now someone's planted the seed of these Normandy, etc. They might get a mention at least. But I don't know yet because I hadn't thought about it until 10 minutes ago. But we might have one moving on and settling in Normandy. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. We shall see. We will find out. Very exciting. I love it. They are fierce. And both series sound good. Yes, they do.
Thank you.
Amanda says there is a beautiful exhibition in that takes
Rouen.
you on the. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's
Rouen.
just what I was going to say. Not really. That takes you on the footsteps of the Vikings in Normandy if you want to come to France.
I bet.
Deborah,
I associate Rouen more with Joan of Arc personally, but why not? Because I live down in south, so for me, how can I say, Rouen only will have to evoke, very stereotypy things. But okay.
Interesting. I love that Deborah says, I see I got here just in time for the yummy. Excellent timing, Deborah. Excellent.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's probably the best one in my opinion. Obviously tastes differ, but and also I always prefer a blonde hero personally. I know it's less popular. It seems to be by default. I go for blondes.
You know what? That's so funny that you say that because one of the first authors I ever interviewed, Gabby, oh my gosh, I can't think of her name. Gabriela Gomez. It's so funny. This was ages ago now, but she has a blonde hero. This is obviously contemporary romance, but her publishers pushed back. They said they were really concerned that because people apparently don't like blonde heroes as much. And I thought
it is
really
a trend. Apparently, yes. They want dark and swarthy and swoony, but I always loved long hair and blonde. So the Viking was a no-brainer.
Well, yeah, especially with like Vikings, you would think you would definitely see more blondes for sure.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. So, okay. I can't believe how quickly this time is going. This is flying. And I want to make sure we don't miss a single thing that we want to share. What would you like to talk about? If I don't want to miss a single thing.
No, I just hope, I've always been a medieval girl. I have written 3 Regency novella, and I read Regency because, well, how can you avoid them?
You can.
I'll always be a medieval girl, and I hope it shows in my books. If you want, I'm there. I'm not just writing about it or choosing this because why not? I'm there.
Yeah.
And this is what I hope readers will get. They read my books, they like it, or maybe they don't like it, but they hopefully they will be immersed into this world. The Viking village or the family's castle. For me, they're real person, real people, real places. So
I
hope it shows.
Love that. I love that so much. Yeah, and we need things other than Regency. So as I had mentioned, so I'm just so thrilled that you're doing this. What would you say makes a great story?
Well, we're going back to this. I think you need to step in and think, I'm in. It's difficult to say how exactly, but suddenly you smell the bread, you hear them. You even hear them talk in your head. They are real people. And it's not just, so she's going to do this, and then they go there so they can do that. If you forget exactly the plot and the structure and the logic to it, and you just go along with the motions, I think that's a great story. Because I read tons of romance, and occasionally you will get such a great book that you think, I don't know, a third's gone by. I usually listen to them. A third's gone by, and I'm just in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And other times you think, and I don't know why, on paper it looked like something I would enjoy, and the blurb's great and everything, but just it didn't draw me in, or I don't care about what's happening to the characters. That's the thing, I think. When you start to think, I don't really care if they never go there, or if they never meet the person, or I don't even understand what they're trying to do at the moment. If you've lost it. So I think you need to feel that you're part of the story yourself, in a way.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. No, I think that's beautiful. Well said. And when you hear from people that have read your books, what resonates most for them? What do they often say to you? What do you hear the most?
Oh, it will sound like boasting time now.
I want to hear it. I want to hear the boasting for sure.
Well, a comment I see very often is it's well written or very well written, which I love, because I thought, no, it's not my native language, but they also mention this immersive experience, and that you could feel you're there. And usually the banter with the characters is something that's the thing I like the most writing about. I don't go for dark, brooding heroes. They're more like cinnamon rolls and a bit, masculine and everything. But there's always banter. There's always opportunity for mischief between them. And it seems to be appreciated. So that's great.
That's so fun. Those are things that are some of my favorite things. You're getting me so excited to read all of your stuff. Oh my gosh, how incredibly fun. So clearly, obviously on the 27th, you have your new release coming out. Let me get to the right thing here before I give everybody whiplash. A second chance for Karis. What do you have anything else? I mean, not that you're not busy enough. Clearly, you're working on your 6th book in this series. Do you have any interviews, book signings coming up? Where can we look for you?
No, unfortunately, being in France and new to this, I still haven't, if you want, built a momentum that would justify me going all the way to where the romance readers in English are.
That can be expensive, I can imagine.
Exactly there, and people think, "Who are you?" So it would be a great holiday, but so I'm at the moment focusing on getting these books out. So one every 2.5 months for the next, 18 months. You'll see a new book coming.
Oh boy!
Very exciting. Boy.
Very exciting. And where can we look for you? And I have everything linked, by the way, in my description box. So where would you recommend we look for you?
I would recommend the Facebook, honestly, my Facebook. And you can obviously join my newsletter. About once a month, what I'm up to and what I like to do, my travels, castles, more castles, and some castles. And I really interact on a great group on Facebook called the Ton and Tartans and the Upturned Petticoats, which must be familiar with most of the people. But I'm really active on these because it's such a great community of people who like the same things. And they're always so open-minded and have good advice. And so, yeah. Or you can send me a message through my contact form on my website. Well, there's plenty of ways.
I love it. I love it. Yay for the internet, I tell you. It just makes it so easy to interact and follow our favorite authors. So Amina says, I am so happy to meet you. And many thanks to you, B, for introducing us to great authors. Oh, absolutely. This is one of my favorite things to do. Get a chance to sit down and this has been such a lovely, I would say, morning for me. I know for you, what time is it there? It's afternoon, evening almost.
It's 5:45.
Oh my heavens. It's about, you're probably getting ready for dinner. Oh, we are very
Well, I will
intrigued.
start cooking when I
Oh, there
hang
you
up.
go. Oh my gosh. Well,
And
thank you
thank
again.
you. I saw someone saying she's very intrigued. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I know. We
You
have a
don't
lot.
need to stay intrigued. You can be convinced.
She will. Oh, and Paige
Oh,
says, I'm
thank you,
adding your books
Paige.
to my TBR right now.
Mm. And please reach out afterwards and tell me that we met on with B.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so fun. Oh, I love that. Yeah, you have to do that. Definitely message her and let her know. Oh my gosh, so fun. Well, I wish I didn't have to run, but for me, it's almost noon, which means I need to go pick up my daughter in preschool. Otherwise, I would just
No
listen to
problem.
you talk forever. But yeah, this has
Yeah, we're
been so
leaving the
wonderful.
Middle Ages, go back to real life. But
I know. It's a jarring time. It is going from one to the other. I'll tell you that. Well, you have a lovely weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being with us and telling us all about your wonderful books. Everybody is very excited. Oh, yes, agree with Paige, adding to the TBR. So exciting.
Angel Wolf.
Yeah. Goodbye, and we'll
Bye-bye.
look forward to following you, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me.
Oh, so pleased to do it. Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
Bye.